Hi, everybody. Back with another episode of Can I Have a Word with You? Bruce is a little under the weather today, so I recruited someone close to me. Everyone say hi to my husband, Blake.
Hey, everybody.
So, Blake, I'll let you kind of tell people a little bit about yourself real quick before we get started and unpacking our word for the podcast.
Sure. Well, I'm Heather's husband. We've been married 30 years and we have 3 kids. And I was a pastor for 17 years in Springfield, Illinois, in a variety of different roles: associate pastor, executive pastor, senior pastor. And then the last decade or so, I've worked in the private sector in the business world.
Awesome. So, you're more than qualified to help me out today. So we were kind of talking about what word we would do if I could talk him into doing this with me today. And one of the things that we've been talking about, just for some other reasons, we were talking about the story in Daniel where it talks about the writing on the wall. Mm-hmm. And as we started, I don't know, just talking through that, the word over kind of came to my mind because I thought that's part of what, the writing on the wall is indicating that something's about to be over.
Well, we've all heard that phrase, right? Like if I'm watching a basketball game and there's somebody hits a 3-pointer and there's 30 seconds left and now they go up by 9 and they think there's 9 seconds, 9 points, 30 seconds. Odds of them winning are very, other team coming back and winning. So, they'll say, well, the writing's on the wall. It means it's mostly a foregone conclusion, pretty much over, So we were talking about, yes, the passage in the Bible where that comes from, but it's used all the time, that phrase.
Mm-hmm. That, it's about to be over. It's inevitable.
That's right.
Well, the thing that struck me, though, is when I said the word over out loud, that to me brings up a lot of different emotions depending on how you look at the word over. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go through kind of the acrostics. Bruce isn't here to do our little acrostic that we always do with our words, but I'm going to go through it, and then maybe you and I can just kind of touch on the different components of what we came up with for this word. So I'm going to look at it real quick. So over, for the O, on top. So on top meaning you're over someone else. You're
literally or metaphorically or whatever. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll come back to that in a minute. V is very done, kind of like we said, the writing on the wall, which is what kind of sparked this whole topic. E is everything's complete. And I love that one, that it is there's some good and bad to that, but we're going to unpack about everything being complete. And then the last one is just reflection or reflective. When something is over, a lot of times we take a moment to reflect backwards. So let's kind of go through that and kind of give our thoughts on it. Why don't you start with the on top?
Yeah, well, it's, to me, I thought of it in terms of like a metaphor that we say a lot of times, like I have to get over the hump on something, or on the hump, over the hump on this diet, or in that work, or, to me, that's the immediately first image I thought of as a metaphor. But obviously it can be anything. It could be somebody that's over you in a supervisory role. It can be an org chart over. It can be any of those kinds of over, but there's that kind of means the literal or metaphorical kind of positional over.
Yeah, one of the things that we were talking about earlier was the idea of an overlord. Yes. Or lording it. Now, lording it over tends to be a little more negative, like you're using your power to lord over someone else. But the idea that you were saying about the overlord, kind of talk about that for a second.
Well, it's just, it's also probably negative, but it's the person who is your lordship. It's the person you owe your loyalty to, sometimes by force, oftentimes by force in the modern world. It's overlords. There's, it's like a warlord oftentimes, but yes, it's a person who has put themselves into a position of authority over you. So it's the over, yeah.
I know. And I think that sometimes I think that I have power over my circumstances
Mm.
or over other people
Mm.
or over, um, deals that I have going for work. But the reality is I don't have control over very much.
Mm.
And that if I, the word overlord, the Lord part implies that there is a power greater than me that I owe some allegiance to.
Right.
So if I can remember that the priorities of my life are God, Heather, Blake, my kids, and then everyone else, we get God in that right position where He's over all, in all, above all. He's over
It's
it all.
overall.
He's over all.
That's
I
right.
love it. So the next one was the V, the very, very done.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of talked about that a little bit with the writing on the wall.
Yeah, that to me, that is very done is just I'm over it. And to mean it, I don't mean that emotional over it where somebody says,
Mm-hmm.
I'm over it with my kids, which you can't be over it with your kids. They're your kids. But
Mm-hmm.
over it with this job and they really mean it. They're done. Or I'm over it with this whatever, or over it with this traffic and they decide they're to get a job where they work remote or whatever it would be when they're really just done. They're very done. I'm over it
Mm-hmm.
completely. Yep. And that is oftentimes you're right. The writing on the wall it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people I think are, we've had a lot of things in our world in the last couple of years where people are just like, they went, I think when people say that too, they've been going along for a while
Mm-hmm.
and the other party or the other presence just keeps pushing and pushing because you hear people saying that about relationships. You know what? I'm over it. I've done it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying. I'm working at it, but I'm done. I'm over it.
If
Same
you
with,
traveled any time from about the summer of 21 until this last Christmas, you got a sense that people around the country were just like about COVID and staying home were just like, I'm over it. And everybody was just going everywhere all the time. Airports full, airlines were full. It was crazy, and that they were just over it. They were just done with staying
Mhm.
home and all that stuff related to COVID. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times when you're over it and you make that kind of a declaration, it's something where the risk factor, you just don't care if it's risky anymore because
Mm-hmm.
this is so bad. That whole, you make the changes because it's more painful to stay the same than it is to change.
Mm-hmm.
You're willing, I was going to stay doing this, but I'm over it. I don't care if I'm broke or I don't care if I'm lonely or I don't care if I get COVID.
I
You're
have
just
enough data that
over
says
it.
that going someplace else, no matter where else is, will be better than staying right here. I have enough data that says that. Then yeah, then you're over it. Yep.
Yeah. And then the next one is the E. Everything's complete. Something it's over.
Yes. And this can be good or bad. I thought of it as, when we have a loved one that has lived a long, full life and has been ill for maybe a year or two. And, we say to when the person finally breathes their last breath and we make those phone calls to the extended family, we say, it's over. It's over, but it's a good kind of over in a lot of ways. We know where the person is going. We know that the suffering is over. It's over. It's complete. It's the life is complete. The suffering is complete. The journey is complete. So there's a lot of good overs, but there can be some sad overs as well.
Mhm.
Marriages can be over, and those kinds of overs where it's complete in the sense that there's nothing more that can be done. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of that's a big one, really. Just the kind of over that's we're just like encapsulated
Mm-hmm.
almost. And it
Yeah.
still has ramifications for the future because
Right.
now this is over. If
Mm-hmm.
it's a marriage or a death of somebody or
Mm-hmm.
um, a career or a school career, maybe that's over, but it
Mm-hmm.
implies that now there's some work to be done in the future to deal with whatever you just got over.
Mm-hmm.
It's never just like sealed
Right.
100%. I mean, the event is over, but now you've got new emotions and new
Mhm.
choices to make and decisions and grieving if it's a loss.
Yeah, and it can be it can be a little bit lighter and a combination of those things. Like somebody who works 30 years at the same place, and
Mm.
when they walk out the door for retirement, they have a lot of love, but they're also glad to be done, and they're never going to work again. They're retiring, and so it's my career is over, and there's goodness in that, but there's also some grieving in that, and it's also not quite as heavy as those other things, but it's still got some weight to it. Yeah, this one has weight. No matter I think what you think about
Yeah.
with this one, there's weight probably attached to it.
Yeah. I think of this song. I should have thought of it before we got here, but there's a song that, a worship song out there right now. And it says, the phrase says continuously, um, I know your past is broken. You can move on. It's over now.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the first time I heard that, I wasn't really paying good attention to the song, to be honest. My mind was kind of drifting and wandering about other things. And when that phrase came in, just like somebody giving you that permission, like you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to stay here anymore. It's over. It's over now. And I just remember just started sobbing because there was a lot of, it was, when the world was all kind of crazy. And um, yeah, that was a powerful word, I felt like, from God, that you can move on. It's over
Mm-hmm.
now. So then the last one is the R, and that one kind of, we've touched on that a little bit, but just the reflection when something is over,
Mm-hmm.
that we take a moment or more to reflect
Yeah, and
on.
we probably do for the weighty ones, or we should for sure. Maybe we don't for some of the other ones, and maybe we should more, for
Mm.
some of the lesser overs. But that is typically, I think, anytime you pivot in life in one way or another, it is a time of reflection, or hopefully should be. And
Mm-hmm.
it seems like a natural thing that people do in those moments. There's a lot of reflection during COVID, and it's
Mm-hmm.
uh, anytime is our pivot. Yeah.
Mm. Actually, I was thinking of something else that just kind of hit me about over, that it is sometimes circumstances and time frames and stuff, but sometimes it's a short, simple thing like your day is over,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a good time to
Reflect.
reflect
Mm-hmm.
on, some of the questions we ask yourself, where was I selfish? Where was I not paying attention to
Mm-hmm.
my family? Where was I not, or where did God show up? Or,
Yes.
um, like you said, not just the where did I go wrong? We tend to do that. Like, what did I do
Mm-hmm.
wrong today that I can fix for tomorrow?
Right.
Instead of like, you know, where did God show himself to me? What are some blessings that maybe I overlooked at the end of when your day is over?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Anybody I harmed today, I need to make amends to. I don't think you need to go too deep in analyzing every critical thing you said or did. I think if if it's between you and God, you deal with it. But I think for the most part, you're looking, did I harm anybody? And I need to go ask forgiveness or whatever to reconcile. And, but yes, there's so many other things. You're right about asking God, where did I miss you today? Did you show up to do something and I wasn't paying attention? Like maybe he'll show you, who knows? So yeah, going into those reflective times open-ended to see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Well, I don't have a lot more to say on this word. Actually, I do have a lot more to say, but every
Our
one
time is
of those
over.
letters, huh?
Our time is over.
Yeah. That was good. Yeah, it's just just about over. But I don't know, any more thoughts you have on any of those
No, thanks for having
nuances?
me. Appreciate let me be part of the podcast.
Yep. Well, I love you, and I'm glad that you were willing to do this. And I'm sure Bruce is grateful. I'm glad I didn't have to do it all myself, also, because we don't want to make everyone have to listen to that.
Well,
But thanks
I'm an
for,
amateur. You guys are pros.
we're figuring it out. So, but thanks for being on here, and thanks everyone for listening. You can hear more about of our other podcasts on Can I Have a Word with You on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Anchor. And you can read more on Heather Carter Writes if you want to just be encouraged about things that you might be going through. And then, of course, Bruce has his Above the Chatter, Our Words Matter. And he has a book that has acrostics for 365 words, I believe, to just encourage you. So I hope you'll check those things out and tune in next time. And we'll see you again soon in August. Bye.
Bye.